Hello, dear friends. This week we have to give it up for Mark and Rebecca Crabtree, who presented me with this gorgeous book of inspirational hymns done by the Guidepost publication last week as a Christmas gift to me. And I just love this. It's a beautifully done book, as you can see, and it has hymns from the hymnal throughout the entire Christian year, with 3 hymns focusing on the Christmas season. And so, what better time to introduce to you, O Little Town of Bethlehem, which is also one of my favorite hymns, and to read commentary from this beautiful book called Hymns of Faith and Inspiration that was given to me by Mark and Rebecca. Thank you so much, you two. I just love you, and I will definitely use this book throughout the coming year as we continue to focus on the beloved hymns of our Christian tradition. So today I want to turn to page 136 and read to you the history of O Little Town of Bethlehem. This particular commentary is called A Pastor's Gift to the Children. Phillips Brooks, author of O Little Town of Bethlehem, was an American preacher, pastor, and teacher of outstanding ability and power. Born in Boston on December the 13th in 1835, Brooks showed an early interest in the things of the church, especially the hymns sung each week at the services. By the time he entered college, he himself had memorized all the verses to over 200 hymns. After he finished his training for the ministry and began preaching, he often used quotations from these hymns in his sermons. And you know I would love that. After receiving a degree from Harvard, Brooks entered the Episcopal Theological Seminary at Alexandria, Virginia. In 1859, at the age of 24, Brooks was ordained in the Episcopal Church. His first pastorate was as rector of Holy Trinity Church in Philadelphia. After faithfully serving there for 6 years, Brooks was given a trip to the Holy Land by his parishioners. For almost a year, Brooks retraced the steps of Jesus and the apostles. On Sunday, December the 24th, in 1865, now mind you, the Civil War was ending here in the States. The young Episcopalian pastor rode on horseback from Jerusalem to Bethlehem and was present at the Christmas Eve service held in Constantine's ancient basilica, built over the traditional site of the Nativity. During the services, which lasted from 10 o'clock at night until 3 a.m. in the morning, Brooks was moved with emotion as he listened to hymns of praise, scripture readings, and prayers. The impressions of this Christmas Eve in Bethlehem would remain with him throughout his life, and just a few years later would become the backdrop for his beloved Christmas carol, O Little Town of Bethlehem. Returning to Philadelphia, Phillips Brooks again took up his responsibilities as pastor at Holy Trinity. Standing over 6.5 feet tall, and some say weighing over 300 pounds, he was an imposing figure as he worked and taught around the parish. Despite his size and the fact that he was a bachelor, Brooks was adored by the children of the church, and he seemed to return their affection. On many occasions, parishioners passing by the open door of his study would spy Brooks sitting on the floor surrounded by toys, playing with the children from his Sunday school classes. It was this love for the little ones that led him to write the hauntingly lovely Christmas carol, O Little Town of Bethlehem. The children of the church were planning a Christmas program, and the Reverend wanted a new Christmas song for the children to sing. As he pondered the nativity story, his thoughts drifted back to that Christmas in Bethlehem just a few years earlier. He recalled the beauty of the city, the darkness of the night, the pageantry of the story, and taking pen and paper, he wrote the 4 stanzas of this hymn. In the morning, Brooks gave the verses to his church organist, Louis H. Redner, requesting that he compose a simple melody that the children could easily memorize and sing in the Christmas program a few days later. And legend has it that he told Redner, "If you come up with a beautiful tune, I will name it St. Louis after you." And it is called St. Louis today, so clearly he hit it out of the ballpark. Redner was an accomplished organist and loved composing music. But try as he might, he could not come up with a satisfactory melody for Brooks's poem. On the night before the children were to present their program, Louis Redner fell into bed exhausted, still without the requested tune. In the middle of the night, however, he was awakened suddenly with the strains of a lovely melody ringing in his ears. Hastily, he jotted down the notes, set them by his bedside, and went back to sleep. Now, here is another example of that wonderful creative process that I so adore. In the morning, he completed the harmony for the inspired tune and taught it to the children. That night, on Christmas Eve, in December of 1868, O Little Town of Bethlehem was sung for the first time by 6 Sunday school teachers and 36 children of Holy Trinity Church in Philadelphia. Phillips Brooks moved on the following year to become the pastor of Trinity Church in Boston, where he served from 1869 until 1891. Subsequent to that, he was appointed to the Episcopal bishop to all the churches in Massachusetts. In all his years of service, he was honored and loved by those to whom he ministered. And when the news of his unexpected death reached his parishioners, one little girl was heard to remark, "Oh, Mama, how happy the angels must be." Although a beautiful monument stands at Trinity Church in Boston honoring this man of God, one suspects his memory is even more blessed each year at Christmas time, when millions of Christians across the world raise their voices to sing this beautiful hymn, O Little Town of Bethlehem. So please join Jake and me now in singing this lovely hymn.
Dream
folks, that this Sunday, December the 13th, in our online worship, our wonderful choir squad will feature the verses of this hymn, O Little Town of Bethlehem, as part of our call to worship. And just let it sink in and remember that this hymn, written by Phillips Brooks, will be featured on his birthday, December the 13th. I love synchronicity when it happens like this. And so I hope you will join us this Sunday, December the 13th at 11 a.m. when our online worship premieres on our church's YouTube channel. Thank you so much for being a part of our church and worshiping with us this Christmas season. And as we say every week, love one another.
Take care of one another.
And we'll see you again real soon.